This message is for the Chief Electoral Officer of Elections, Ontario. Due to my poor eyesight, it is difficult for me to type, so I am sending a video request for an immediate investigation into the fixing of the 2018 Ontario general election. I received a letter in an email yesterday. The email I will forward to you. It announced an all-candidate debate in Toronto Centre. In that debate, a candidate, Kevin Clarke, myself, is a candidate for Toronto Mayor. I am a former candidate in Toronto Centre who nearly lost his life years ago, and I was handcuffed and shackled for showing up at a public debate where I was the registered public candidate. Now, in this announced debate, it is a public debate that has the public media, and they are promoting this to members of the public. But the debate only includes 4 fixed candidates. They say it's from the major political parties, but there is no one who is major or minor in this election. We are all candidates who are Canadian citizens who went through the process to register duly with Elections Ontario, and we should not have to face arrest, be threatened, and be beaten down into the ground to near death, which is what has happened to myself. It is a total disgrace to all Canadians to think that this continual election fixing is happening in Ontario. There is 20 registered political parties, and all of us are guaranteed the same rights under the Canadian Charter of Rights. It's like saying to a child who goes to a new school that you are excluding them from activities because they weren't in that same school the year before. That is disgraceful. It's disgusting. And for this to be a part of the election process in Ontario, it is undemocratic, and it is very, very disturbing to think the message you'll be sending to the next generation, that unless you are older, unless you have been there before, you will not have the opportunity, because we are only going to choose those who were granted influence previously. This is disgraceful. There is not even a Liberal candidate in the riding of Toronto Centre. There is 6 candidates expected to run, but yet you would organize a debate that exclude all other candidates except for the 4 you fix to include Liberal, Conservative, New Democrat, Progressive Conservative, and you exclude the people. I'm a 5-time mayoral candidate. I put 20 years of my life in that. I am a 9-time provincial candidate. I put over 20 years of my life in that. I'm a 4-time federal candidate, and I lead a provincial political party in Ontario. And you are telling me that the people don't have the right to hear from me or this other candidate because you choose to fix the election, so you only hear from N.D.P, Liberal, Conservative, and Green? We ask the Chief Electoral Officer to immediately investigate this election fixing in Ontario. And if the Chief Electoral Officer will not intervene in this debate that's set for May 15th, then it is clear that this is not a public debate. that's inclusive of all candidates that respect the people's democratic right to hear from all candidates equally, then we expect the chief electoral officer to deem that if it is a public debate and only certain candidates are included from certain political parties, then the fundings, the exposure that comes from the media, whatever the value that is, and whatever the cost of the space to hold the debate, it must be considered a contribution to those candidates and their parties who have been invited, because it cannot be a public debate for public office if it excludes other duly registered Democratic candidates. That is election fixing. God is with us. We expect a reply from the